Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions. She laughed the loudest when I looked the most confused. That's how I remember it now. Her hand brushing another man's shoulder, her eyes locking with his just a second too long. Then that high, effortless laugh, like I wasn't even in the room. This didn't happen once. This wasn't a mistake. This was her habit. Selena thought everything was funny. Flirting? Funny. Teasing men in front of me? Hilarious. Whispering in their ears while I stood 6 feet away holding her purse. Comedy gold, apparently. At first, I told myself I was overthinking. That's what you do when you're the quiet one, you doubt. You internalize. You edit your emotions the same way I edit technical manuals. Clinically, word by word, until nothing raw remains. But you know what's not funny? Being laughed at. Especially by the woman who once promised to protect your heart. She started calling it a game. That's how she justified the comments. He's so cute, right? She'd say with a nudge in my side while eyeing someone else. Oh, come on, Lowell. It's just jokes. Stop being so dramatic. So I stopped being dramatic. I stopped reacting. I smiled. I nodded. I became wallpaper at her performances, the man who held the coats while she entertained the audience. Until the night it snapped. Her friend Rhea came over. One of the few I actually liked. She was kind to me, asked me how work was going, made actual eye contact. Selena, of course, spent the whole night teasing Rhea's new date. A guy who looked like he belonged in a shampoo commercial. At one point, I saw Selena slip her number into the guy's pocket. A folded napkin like we were in some high school cafeteria movie. My stomach turned. But instead of saying anything, I turned to Rhea and said, "Hey, I think I'm finally starting to get this whole joke thing." She smiled. Yeah, I said. Mind helping me practice? Her eyes widened, then she laughed. Not at me. Not like Selena did. She laughed because I wasn't invisible anymore. I didn't cheat. Not yet. But I flirted. Just a little. Just enough to feel seen. Selena noticed. Immediately. And guess who didn't think it was funny? After that night with Rhea, something shifted in the air. Not dramatically, not instantly, but subtly, like a pressure drop before a storm. Selena didn't say anything at first. She just watched me more. You know that tight-lipped smile people give when they're pretending not to be bothered? That became her new favorite look. And I wore it like a badge of honor. We had dinner the next night. Just the two of us. She picked the place. Some trendy tapas bar where the music was too loud and the portions too small. I wasn't hungry anyway. I was still thinking about how it felt when Rhea laughed at my joke. How she leaned in like she was listening, not just waiting for her turn to speak. Selena barely touched her drink. Usually she was the life of the table, flirting with the waiter, making inappropriate comments that only she found amusing. But that night she was quiet, observing, calculating. Finally, she said, "So, you and Rhea got pretty cozy last night." I shrugged. She was nice, easy to talk to. Selena smiled, but her eyes didn't. "You're not actually trying to make me jealous, are you?" "No," I said, slicing into a tasteless piece of grilled eggplant. "I'm just learning how to laugh at things." That silence afterward? Deafening. The next few days were strange. Selena started being nice, like unnaturally nice. She made me coffee in the morning, which she never did. She complimented my shirts. She even sat on my lap while I was trying to respond to emails and whispered, "You know I only joke because I love how you react." And just like that, the switch flipped. It wasn't about me being too sensitive. It wasn't about her just playing. It was about control. She didn't want me to have that same power, to flirt, to feel attractive, to make others smile. Her jokes were only funny if I was the one shrinking. But I wasn't shrinking anymore. A week later, she hosted a game night at our place. Her usual group came: Rainey, Tess, Marcus, and a few of her newer girlfriends, including a woman named Delaney. I didn't know Delaney well, but she was charming in a very real way. Not flashy, not overly made up. Just someone who looked you in the eye and listened. Selena was in full performance mode again, laughing too loudly at Marcus's stories, touching his arm every time he spoke. I sat across from her and smiled. Not bitterly. Not with resentment. Just knowingly. Then Delaney sat next to me. I don't remember what started it, but we were talking about something dumb. Board games that cause relationship fights, and I made her laugh so hard she snorted wine out of her nose. She hit my shoulder, giggling, and said, "Stop. Seriously, I can't breathe." And across the table I saw it. Selena's smile twitched, just a little. She leaned over and said, "Delaney, careful, Lowell's married, you know?" Delaney froze. "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean." But I cut in. "It's just jokes, right?" I said, meeting Selena's eyes. "Isn't that what we do around here?" The room went quiet, just for a beat. And then someone laughed, awkwardly, and the conversation picked up again. But Selena didn't laugh. That night, when everyone left, she didn't say a word. She just started cleaning furiously, like crumbs were the real enemy. I went to bed alone, and I smiled, because for the first time in years, I wasn't the only one wondering how it felt to be ignored. The morning after game night, Selena acted like nothing had happened. She hummed in the kitchen, made her signature oversweet French toast, and kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't just tried to shame another woman in front of me the night before. I watched her pour coffee like she was auditioning for a toothpaste commercial, all smiles, all surface. I didn't say a word. I wanted to see how long she'd keep pretending she didn't feel that shift in the room. She broke first. Later that day, she popped her head into my home office, still in her robe. "You and Delaney had fun," she said casually, pretending to check her nails. I didn't even look up. "She's funny." Selena stood there. "You know, some women flirt just to see if they still have it. It doesn't mean anything." Now that got my attention. I turned and looked her straight in the eye. "Is that what you've been doing? Seeing if you still have it by flirting with my coworkers, friends, waiters, Uber drivers?" Her smile disappeared. "Don't be ridiculous." "Oh, I'm sorry," I said. "Maybe I just need to work on my sense of humor again." She stormed off. No retort. No dramatic defense. Nothing. It was the first time my words actually landed. And that silence, her silence, it was the loudest moment of our marriage. But what happened next, I didn't expect. 2 days later, I got a message on Instagram from Tess, one of her closest friends. She sent a picture of an old group hang, the kind where Selena was holding court and I was somewhere in the background, probably cleaning up empty bottles. Tess wrote, "You looked miserable that night. You okay?" It wasn't flirtatious. It was genuine. That somehow made it hit harder. I replied, cautiously. We ended up talking. Not every day, not for hours, but enough. Enough for her to say she'd noticed how Selena talked to me. How she belittled me in front of people. How she'd once joked to the group, "If Lowell ever leaves me, I'll be single for a day, maybe." Tess said that wasn't a compliment. It was a power move. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because of guilt. Because for the first time in years, someone had seen me. Not the version of me Selena painted. The real me. The man quietly shrinking in the shadow of someone else's spotlight. So I started being louder, not with my voice, but with my presence. I started dressing better. Accepting invites Selena declined. Saying no to her without feeling like I owed an apology. I even cracked jokes around her friends. Real jokes. Ones that made them laugh with me, not at me. And Selena? She didn't like that. Not one bit. She pulled me aside during a barbecue and hissed, "You're embarrassing me." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Funny. That's what I've been feeling for the past 2 years." She blinked. For a moment, she looked like she was about to cry. But instead, she turned around and walked away. Later that evening, Tess caught my arm and whispered, "She's scared." I smiled. Good. But what I didn't know then was just how far Selena was willing to go to get control back. And I never expected who she'd pull into it. A week passed without a single flirtatious joke from Selena. Not at home, not in public, not even over text. That silence should have been comforting. But it wasn't. Felt manufactured. Like she was waiting for something. Watching me. Measuring how far I'd push the boundary now that I wasn't under her thumb anymore. Then came a message I didn't see coming, from Layla. Layla was Selena's friend from college, the one who always seemed too sharp to be part of her circle. She had a dry, sarcastic sense of humor, and unlike the rest of Selena's entourage, she didn't find Selena's jokes all that charming. We'd barely ever spoken, but apparently, she noticed more than I thought. Her message read, "I don't want to start anything, but I think you should know Selena's been texting someone behind your back. And it's not just jokes anymore." That pit in my stomach returned. Not the jealous kind, the kind that comes with confirmation. I asked her what she meant. She hesitated, then sent me a screenshot. A cropped part of a message from Selena to someone named Eric. It read, "You'd better be at the party this time. I need a break from boring." Followed by a winking emoji. My throat dried up. I knew that name. Eric was the bartender from Tessa's birthday party a few months ago. The one Selena kept saying had movie star teeth. I didn't say anything that night. I told myself she was just being funny. Now I knew better. I confronted her. Not dramatically, just tired. "Selena, who's Eric?" She blinked. "Why?" I saw the message. Her face twisted like she couldn't decide between laughing it off and being furious that I dared look. "So now you're going through my phone?" "I didn't. Layla sent it." "Layla?" she snapped. "That jealous witch? You mean the one who wasn't texting bartenders behind her boyfriend's back?" She stood in the middle of the kitchen, arms crossed, breathing hard. "It was a joke." I just looked at her. "You keep calling them jokes, but I'm the only one not laughing." She stormed out of the room, slammed the bedroom door. I didn't follow, but something inside me turned over. Not rage, not heartbreak, something colder. I was done being humiliated quietly. I was done carrying the embarrassment alone. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Layla, and I asked her one simple question. "Do you want to come to the next party?" Her laugh was slow. "Why, Lowell? Looking to make someone jealous?" "No," I said. "Just thought I'd finally learn how to be funny." That weekend, Selena planned a dinner party, likely thinking she'd sweep it all under the rug by playing hostess and pretending nothing happened. She didn't ask me who I was inviting. She probably assumed I had no one. But when I opened the door and Layla stepped in, wearing a dress that screamed, "I'm not playing your games anymore," Selena's glass nearly slipped out of her hand. Her face froze. Not angry, not confused, just pale. I introduced them like it was the first time they'd met. "Selena, you remember Layla, right?" Layla smiled. "Oh, we go way back. I used to think she was the funny one." Selena didn't laugh. For the first time, she looked like the joke had finally landed on her. Selena didn't say much for the first 30 minutes of the dinner party. She smiled through her teeth, offered wine to the guests, and laughed in all the wrong places. But I could tell every second was calculated. She wasn't hosting. She was waiting, watching, trying to figure out if Layla's presence meant something more than what I let on. And I didn't give her anything. I played it cool, polite, and mildly indifferent. Exactly the way she used to treat me when I was drowning in discomfort. Layla, to her credit, didn't overplay it. She was just present, effortlessly charming, engaged in every conversation, never once overstepping. She didn't flirt. She didn't touch my arm or lean too close. But she made sure every time she laughed at something I said, Selena heard it. We were in the middle of some dumb debate over which movie franchises should have stopped after one film when Selena finally snapped. She raised her glass and said, loudly, "I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight, especially Layla, who I'm so happy is back in touch with us." There was a pause. Polite claps. Awkward glances. Layla smiled and nodded like a queen acknowledging a commoner. Selena continued, "It's great seeing old friends reconnect. Really warms the heart, especially when they've been distant for so long." I knew what she was doing. Digging. Laying bait. She wanted to embarrass me, corner me into a defensive moment so she could play the victim again. Layla didn't blink. "Well, sometimes distance helps you see things clearer," she said, still smiling. "Like who actually respects you and who just plays pretend when others are watching." That one hit the room like a thud. Selena looked like she'd been slapped. Are you implying something? Not implying, Layla said gently. Just reflecting. I nearly choked on my drink. The tension was delicious. Everyone at the table suddenly needed to check their phones or refill their wine, giving the two of them space to continue their quiet war. I stayed quiet too. I wanted to see who'd cross the line first. Selena stared at Layla, then turned to me. Is this your new thing, Lowell? Using my friends to get back at me? The room went silent. I tilted my head. You use jokes to get attention. I use friends to get honesty. Looks like we're both experimenting. Her jaw clenched. You're trying to humiliate me in front of my own friends. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. You've been doing that to me for years. The only difference is I never laughed. Selena stood up. Okay, enough. Party's over. And just like that, she started grabbing plates and storming into the kitchen. A few guests awkwardly followed her, whispering apologies. I stayed seated. So did Layla. She looked at me and said, You handled that better than I would have. I smiled, but there was no joy in it. I'm tired of letting her make me feel like the fool. You're not the fool, Layla said softly. You're just finally tired of being her audience. We stayed in the dining room as the others slowly filtered out. I didn't chase after Selena. I didn't try to fix it. For once, I wasn't the one doing cleanup after her performance. That night, Selena didn't come to bed. I heard her crying in the guest room. Not loud, not dramatic, the kind of quiet sobbing that used to make me want to rush in and hold her. But this time, I let her cry alone. Not out of cruelty, but because I finally understood something. You can only be someone's punchline for so long before you start rewriting the script. I expected cold shoulders, silent treatment, maybe a dramatic apology or some twisted attempt at intimacy. What I didn't expect was for Selena to go nuclear. 3 days after the dinner party, I got a call from my boss. I had been summoned to HR, and I knew something was off before I even stepped into the office. Selena had reported me. She told my company that I'd been emotionally inappropriate with someone in her friend's circle, that I was fostering unprofessional connections that might affect my performance. She never mentioned names, but it was obvious who she meant. Layla. First I was shocked, then I was angry, but beneath it all I was impressed. That's how far she was willing to go. She couldn't shame me at home anymore, so she tried to destroy what little confidence I was rebuilding outside of it. Luckily, I'd done nothing wrong. HR asked a few questions, reviewed my interactions, and closed the case the same day. No warning, no note on my record. Just a handshake and a raised eyebrow from my boss, as if to say, Who are you married to? I came home to find Selena on the couch, scrolling through her phone like she hadn't just tried to set my life on fire. I walked in, shut the door, and she didn't even look up. HR cleared it, I said. She glanced at me. What? You know what? She sighed. I was just trying to get your attention. I laughed. Actually laughed. It startled both of us. You tried to sabotage my job? Because you wanted attention? She stood up suddenly. Don't twist it, Lowell. You humiliated me. You brought Layla into our home. You made me look pathetic in front of everyone I care about. No, I said quietly. You did that on your own. I just stopped covering for you. She froze. That hit somewhere deep, and I could see it. But I didn't back down. Everything's always a joke with you until the spotlight turns, I continued. But guess what? You're not the only one allowed to be heard anymore. She looked away, biting the inside of her cheek. I never thought you'd change. I didn't, I said. I finally remembered who I was before I let you shrink me. That night I packed a bag. Not all of it, just enough. Enough to say I wasn't bluffing. Enough to show her this wasn't another passive-aggressive phase. I stayed at a hotel for 2 nights. Layla didn't know. I wasn't doing it for her. I needed space, time, silence without performance. For once, I wanted to be surrounded by neutral walls, unjudging lamps, and quiet air that didn't feel like it was waiting to argue. And in that silence, something settled in me. I wasn't trying to win anymore. I wasn't even trying to be right. I just wanted out. On the third day, Selena texted. A photo of our wedding picture on the nightstand. No words. Just the image. I stared at it for a long time. We looked happy in that photo. I looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just less. She looked like she knew exactly where she was going. Maybe she did. But she didn't take me with her. When I returned to the house after my 3 nights away, Selena was in the kitchen acting like she hadn't tried to blow up my life. She was chopping vegetables, humming, pretending everything was normal. There were candles lit on the table. My favorite dish, her homemade chicken risotto, was already simmering. That scent used to comfort me. Now it made my stomach tighten. She looked up with this exaggerated softness in her eyes, like we were in a bad soap opera. I thought we could talk, she said. Really talk. I didn't sit. I stood in the doorway, bag still on my shoulder. About what? Her smile flickered. Everything. I should have walked away. But part of me needed to hear what she had to say, or maybe I was hoping she'd finally admit the truth. That it was never about jokes. That she knew exactly what she was doing every time she chipped away at me in front of others. We sat. She served me like she used to when things were good. She made small talk about work, about Tessa's new boyfriend, even about how Layla had apparently always had a thing for attention. That was her lead-in, subtle, but pointed. You know, she finally said, leaning in, I never meant to hurt you. I was just being me. I thought we were stronger than a few jokes. You weren't joking, I said plainly. You humiliated me. Constantly. You knew it. You saw how uncomfortable I was. And instead of stopping, you kept pushing. She looked down at her plate. I guess I didn't think it mattered that much to you. That was the most honest thing she'd said in months. It mattered, I replied. And now? It doesn't. Her eyes flicked up. I could see it, the panic behind the calm. She wasn't used to this version of me. The one who wasn't crumbling or begging. The one who wasn't trying to fix what he didn't break. Then she tried one last play. Her voice dropped, soft and vulnerable. I miss us. I shook my head. You miss control. She blinked. That hit. You miss knowing you could tear me down and I'd still crawl back, smile at your friends, pretend it didn't hurt when you laughed at me. You miss me being small. But that man's not here anymore. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, looking like someone who finally realized the punchline had always come with a cost. I stood up. I'll be back for the rest of my things next week. She didn't stop me, just nodded slowly. Before I reached the door, she said, I didn't think you had it in you. I turned around. Neither did I. And I walked out. Not angry, not broken, just free. 1 week later, I returned to the house one final time. I brought 2 duffel bags and a friend with a truck. Selena wasn't home. She'd left a note that read, Take whatever you want. I'm done fighting. There was no apology, no explanation, just that, a sentence that said more about how she saw our entire marriage than anything she ever shouted during an argument. Packing my things felt surreal. I paused at the shelf where our wedding photo once sat. The frame was still there, but the picture was missing. I guess we were both erasing pieces of each other. Only I didn't feel anger anymore. No bitterness. No victory. I just felt done. By the time I finished, the sun was setting. The air was calm. I stood at the doorway one last time, looking into the home where I'd spent years becoming a ghost in someone else's spotlight. I didn't say goodbye. You don't say goodbye to a performance. You just stop watching. I moved into a small apartment. Nothing special, but it's mine. The first night, I sat on the floor with takeout and no furniture, listening to the silence. And for the first time in years, that silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Layla and I kept in touch. We never dated, at least not right away. She gave me space. I gave myself grace. And somewhere along the way, we started meeting for coffee, then long walks, then late-night conversations that didn't feel like I was auditioning for approval. Just being seen. Fully. Finally. Months later, Selena texted me a single sentence. I hope you're happy now. I didn't reply, because I was. Not because she was gone, but because I had finally chosen myself over her version of me. I no longer needed to prove anything. Not to her. Not to anyone. Selena once said I didn't know how to take a joke. But I learned something better. How to take back my voice. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you made it this far, drop a comment and tell us, what's one historical event that changed the world, but started with a quiet, personal decision? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that hits close to home. Until next time, stay strong, stay real, and remember, sometimes walking away is the punchline.